Australian Labor Party has registered one of the most historic wins in the Australian federal election history. It's considered as a landslide victory with more than 90 seats secured in the House of Representatives and a likely increase in the Senate as well. So what does it mean for international students? Well, in this video, we are going to discuss that and some other important things that you must know. So without wasting much time, let's get into the video. Now first, let's update you regarding the Australian election results. So as I mentioned, Australian Labor Party has registered the historic win in the 2025 federal election. Just to give you an idea, out of 150 seats for the House of Representatives, a party needs to secure at least 76 seats in order to form a government. If you look at the current tally from ABC News, Australian Labor Party is currently sitting at 93 seats, which is much more than the required 76 seats. The coalition, which is made up of Liberal and the Nationals Party, is sitting at a second place with only 42 seats. And Greens are sitting at 1 seat, and others, which include independents, are sitting at around 11 seats. Just keep in mind that some seats are still in a doubt, which means the counting is still going on for some of those seats, as it's too close to call who would win the seats. But in reality, it was a huge blow for the opposition party, which is obviously the coalition, with their leader Peter Dutton losing his own seat and also his leadership for the coalition, which means he's out of the parliament. So that was regarding the Australian election results. Now let's look at some of the key ministers announced by the Australian Prime Minister. These were just announced a couple of days back, and some of these ministers are just continuing from the previous term. So we'll start off with the Prime Minister, which is Anthony Albanese. I'm sure a lot of you would already know about him. Then the next relevant Minister for International Education is Minister for Home Affairs and Immigration and Citizenship, which is Tony Burke. There is no change here. So as for Minister of Education as well, which is still Jason Clare. However, there is a new role appointed for Assistant Minister for International Education, which is given to Julian Hill. Some of you might remember Julian Hill from the COVID era, where he was strongly speaking for international students when they were told to go home by then Prime Minister Scott Morrison. So let's hope he stands for international students again in his new role. We would like to wish all these ministers best of luck with their work in the coming years. Now let's look at some of the changes that are expected to come for international education in the coming year. The first one is regarding the student visa fee. Just before the election, both the major parties announced that they will be increasing the student visa fee. Now we know that Australian Labor Party has won this election. So how much increase are we expecting? Well, they announced before the election that they will be increasing the student visa fee from 1st of July 2025 from $1,600 to $2,000, making Australian student visa even more expensive. Just to let you know that Australian student visa is one of the most expensive student visa in the world, with the nearest competition coming from New Zealand only, sitting at around $750. And just to give you a context, it was increased from $710 to $1,600 only last year. Again, from $1,600 to $2,000 is a huge jump, not a very positive thing. Now government is saying that they are expecting to generate additional $760 million from this increased student visa fee, which they are going to use to fund their election promises. Sadly, it doesn't seem like that this money will be used for international students. Now, another thing that was announced by the government last year was regarding cap on international student numbers. Fortunately or unfortunately, that didn't go through the parliament last year, as Coalition and Greens didn't support that bill. Will the government bring that back again in the parliament this year? We are not sure about it, as currently they're using this system called Ministerial Direction 111, which is basically used like a cap. Although the government is saying that they are just using it to prioritize the visa processing, with the priority 1 is a higher priority given to the education providers who have not reached the threshold of 80% of their cap numbers, which means if an education provider hasn't reached the 80% of the allocated numbers, then the student visas for those education providers will be processed faster. And once they have reached this 80% threshold, they'll be put into priority 2, which is like a standard processing, which can be considered as a slower processing. So will the government continue with this Ministerial Direction 111, or will they try to bring in the legislation regarding capping student numbers? Remains to be seen. Also, in terms of migration planning levels, the government is planning to move it to multi-year planning model from the year 2025-2026. At the moment, migration program is planned yearly, usually for a 12-month period. But government is planning to move it to a multi-year planning model, which means that they will be planning for 4 years at a time instead of planning for just one. Now, the government is saying that they are planning to do this in order to give a better clarity to migrants, businesses and the community, as it will help them with the better forecasting for migration, housing and workforce planning. And this has been already mentioned on the Department of Home Affairs website. And we're expecting to see that happening from the 1st of July 2025. Now, in terms of what does this labor win mean for international students and international education? In short, it's not clear what the government policy will be for international education, as they did not reveal their detailed migration policy during the election campaign. It was expected that they would have launched that in the last week of election, but we didn't see any detailed policy coming through, especially regarding immigration. And if you were following any news, you would have seen that housing and immigration was a big issue during this election campaign. So it's kind of expected that the government will continue to manage the international student numbers and migration numbers, just to ease out the pressure on housing and cost of living here in Australia. So personally speaking, I'm not either celebrating the win or being sad at Labour's win. I'm kind of a neutral regarding this win. If the government brings in good policies, we'll obviously appreciate them, especially in regards to international students and international education. But if they're not, we will also be criticizing them as well. So it remains to be seen what impact it will have on international students and international education. Overall, if you look at the election result, overall it has been seen as a positive result by many that Australian Labor Party has won the election, considering what opposition party was trying to bring in with their migration policy. But as I said, it remains to be seen how positive it will be. Let's put it that way, I'm cautiously hopeful. As an international student, it's important for you to keep yourself up to date with any policies and changes that are coming through for international education and in general migration as well. So if you would like to get more updates like this, then please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and sign up for our email newsletter that we usually send at the end of each month, with all the updates that you need to know in one comprehensive newsletter. Now, our international students are actually to be blamed for housing and cost of living crisis here in Australia. Well, we try to debunk these myths and some more myths regarding international students in Australia in this video here. Quite a detailed researched video, took us plenty of time to research and put it together. So if you would like to watch and get more details regarding that, click the video there and I'll see you there.